Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish Task Force, JTF. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach. There is going to be a summit very soon after the time that we're recording this program in Annapolis. They're planning to have a summit in Annapolis where President Bush and Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice are inviting leaders from all over the world to come and pressure little Israel to commit national suicide. Now let me explain what the goals of this evil summit are. First of all, the Arab world is fighting to destroy Israel now for over 100 years. Even before there was a Jewish state in 1948, the Arabs promised to exterminate the Jews and push the Jews into the sea and were murdering Jews. Many, many Jews were murdered even before there was a Jewish state in 1948, before the Jews had anything. Today, the Jews have a tiny little country that is smaller than New Jersey. And the Arab world is 3 times the size of the United States, the entire United States of America. So the Arabs have more than 600 times the land that the Jews have. And this tiny little land that the Jews have, the Arabs want to take over, and they want to exterminate all the Jews there just because the Jews are not Muslims, just because the Jews are so-called non-Muslim infidels. And that's what this war is all about. Israel is fighting for her survival and for her right to exist. And the Arab Muslim Nazis are saying, you have no right to exist, we're going to exterminate you because you're not a Muslim country and you cannot exist here. We demand that all of this land be handed over to the Muslims, that non-Muslims have no rights at all in the Middle East. In reality, the Muslim world also says in their media every day that non-Muslims in the United States and in Europe have no rights. They want to conquer the whole world and make the whole world Islamic. But that is especially true in the Middle East, where little Israel is smack in the middle of the Arab world and smack in the middle of the Muslim world, and that is something that the Arabs and the Muslims will never accept. They will always want to destroy Israel, no matter how small Israel is, no matter how many concessions Israel makes. The Arabs and the Muslims will never accept the existence of any Jewish state or any Jewish homeland or any non-Muslim state of any size in the middle of the Arab world. They will not accept it, even though it is the Jews that have the historical, biblical, religious, spiritual, and national right to be there. This was always Jewish land. The Jews are the ones that built up the land. The Jews are the ones that lived there in the beginning. And the Arabs don't have any rights there. In fact, even the Arabs that came to live there after the Jews in the beginning of the 20th century started to drain the swamps, because it was on the coast. It was just a swampland, and it was like a desert. If you read Mark Twain's book Innocents Abroad, or you read other accounts, or you read what the British census figures show, very few people lived in the land of Israel before the Jews started coming back 120 years ago. The Jews took a land that was almost a desert, with very few people, with some Bedouin Arabs, and you had some Jews who lived in Jerusalem and in Sfat, which is in the Galilee. But aside from that, the land was desolate. There were very few people living there. And the Jews made it a beautiful, magnificent, lush, unbelievably breathtaking nation, like the land flowing with milk and honey, as it says in the Bible. And the Arabs and Muslims, instead of saying, wow, look what these Jews have done and look how God has brought them back to their land, instead they've reacted with jealousy and hatred and intolerance and said, you non-Muslim infidels, how dare you? We're going to take everything you built and we're going to conquer this little country and we're going to exterminate you. On the first day Israel came into being in 1948, on the very first day, that a tiny little speck of a Jewish state that was so small, it was like a dot on the map. You couldn't even see it on the map. And this tiny little Jewish state, that the Arabs said is too much for the Jews. They said they won't accept any state. We're going to push the Jews into the sea. You're non-Muslim infidels. We're going to exterminate all of you. This is what Allah commands us to do. And they went to war, and 7 Arab Muslim Nazi armies invaded little Israel on the very first day of Israel's existence in 1948, on May 15th, 1948. And ever since then, there's been a non-stop Arab war to exterminate the Jews and to commit genocide against the Jewish people, to perpetrate another Holocaust. Now, in Annapolis, Condoleezza Rice, George Bush, and the European countries and all the other powers of the world who are giving into Arab Muslim oil blackmail, because the Arab Muslim oil sheiks are blackmailing them. Unfortunately, we've allowed ourselves to become addicted to Arab oil. If we developed alternative sources to oil, we wouldn't have this problem, and we wouldn't have the problem of Islamic terrorism. But we've allowed ourselves to remain addicted, which is another issue that we speak about frequently. But because of that addiction, the Arab Muslim oil sheiks are blackmailing America and blackmailing Europe to do something which is completely immoral, which is completely evil and obscene. They're blackmailing Israel they're blackmailing America and Europe to gang up on little Israel. and demand that little Israel give up whatever land she has. They're demanding in Annapolis. They're going to demand in Annapolis. And this is the official U.S. policy. It's the Bush roadmap in the Middle East. And it's what the Europeans and the UN and everybody support against little Israel. They're demanding that Israel surrender her biblical homeland and create another independent Muslim terrorist state in the heartland of biblical Israel. The Muslims have 65 countries. Most of them are very big countries. The Jews have only one tiny little country. And the world is saying 65 Muslim countries is not enough. There has to be a 66th Muslim terrorist country. Right in the middle of Judea and Samaria, the biblical homeland of Israel, with Jerusalem as the capital of this Muslim terrorist, this new Muslim terrorist country that they want to create. And unfortunately, we have traitor leaders in Israel that are willing to give in and willing to accept this, because these leaders are puppets of Washington and of the world leaders. They're puppets. They were put in power by these world powers, and they're willing to accept these suicidal terms. If the terms of Annapolis are agreed to, God forbid, Israel would retreat to the pre-1967 borders. The pre-1967 borders, the borders that existed before the 1967 Six-Day War, are borders where Israel is only 6 to 10 miles wide. Even Abba Eban, who was an extreme left-wing ultra-dove in Israel, even he said that those borders are Auschwitz lines, are suicide and Holocaust lines, that will lead to a Holocaust for the Jewish people. And it is those Holocaust lines that Israel is being pressured to retreat to the pre-67 borders that are 6 to 10 miles wide, to surrender Israel's being told to surrender her own capital city to the PLO, Hamas, Fatah terrorists. That's what Annapolis is all about. And self-hating traitor Jews are going along with it, are supporting it and going along with it. I mean, you have traitors among every people, but unfortunately with the Jews, the whole world made sure that our leaders would be traitors. The only leaders we have are traitors. The Jewish people, most of the Jews in Israel don't want this. The vast majority of Jews in every poll are against this and hate Ehud Smolmert and hate the leaders of Israel. But these traitor leaders are imposing this upon the Jewish people. And that is the great danger of Annapolis. And Bibi Netanyahu, or Bibi Netanyahu, who is a lying, cheating snake who will probably be the next prime minister of Israel. He's from the Likud party. He poses as a right-winger, but in the end, he'll accept these crazy things as well. And so that's why we of JTF are organizing in Israel. We have a movement in Israel. In Hebrew, it's called Hayamin Ha'amiti, the real right. And we're organizing because the people of Israel don't want this. They understand this is suicide. They understand this is insane. They understand that putting Israel within borders that are 6 to 10 miles wide when they're surrounded by 500 million Muslim maniacs from Arab countries and Iran that want to exterminate them, this is complete national suicide. And the people of Israel understand that. And so we are trying to organize a mass movement. If we become a mass movement, we can prevent this. And we will block with our bodies any surrender of Jewish land. And we will block with our bodies this program of surrender and suicide. And that's what we're trying to do in Israel. And it is essential that people support this. It's essential that people join our movement to support this. Jews and righteous Gentiles. This is not just an issue for Jews. The future of the whole world is at stake, because Israel is the apple of God's eye, it says in the Bible. God judges the whole world based upon Israel. I will bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee. God curses every nation that goes against Israel and blesses every nation that supports the Jews and supports Israel. And any nation that goes against God's plan to return his people to the entire land of Israel will be a nation that will face destruction, eternal destruction. And so this is not just an issue for Jews. This is an issue for anyone who reads the Bible and understands that the words of the Bible are the truth, and that history has proven that it is insane to go against God's word and against the Bible. And so we urge you to join with us and support us to prevent this. You see the address of that's the address of our great movement, of the website of our movement, and here is the address of our great forum. It's the best forum anywhere on the internet. That's our English language forum, Yesh Lanu Gam. I'm going to say briefly in Hebrew, Yesh Lanu Gam, Forum Metsuyan, HaForum HaTov Biyoter, Bisfat HaIvrit Gamken. And so I want to urge people to join with us and make sure that this terrible catastrophe does not take place. Because the knife is at the throat for the Jewish people, and we have to fight to prevent this terrible injustice, this insane plan. We can do it, we must do it, and God demands that we do it. Shalom.